My name's Tim Whittemore. I'm a student at the University of Michigan. I've studied math education. I'm particularly interested in post-secondary ed, so this is a great conference for me to come to. My advisor, Dr. Mesa, and I, along with a team of students, have been working to see the experiences that instructors go through as they teach with IBL methods in their classrooms. Today I'm going to be discussing interviews that were conducted with 13 instructors last 18 months ago, last December, or 2 Decembers back. I was in a bicycle accident last summer, and I've been blessed with remarkable recovery, so I'm up and about, and it's kind of amazing. So after 2 rounds of brain surgery, I really am back and enjoying being back in general, but particularly enjoying being back at this conference. It's wonderful to be here and to interact with familiar faces and to talk about experiences. I enjoy working with IBL instructors because of the challenges that they face in getting students to present and having students critique each other's work, and those are going to be the activities that I talk about today. This talk looks at those activities and how instructors go about resolving those dilemmas. The research questions I've been working with are these 3. How do instructors encourage students' presentations and peer critiques? And then we also are wondering how these experiences differ between the types of courses that instructors are teaching and with respect to the differences in familiarity with the IBL methods. As a quick answer to the 3rd question, we've been surprised to see that there are no real differences between instructors with different familiarity, so that's a little answer before the rest of the talk. Get you involved, get you interested. So as a brief overview of the talk, let me describe the sample that we used, the interview method, and the data set. We recruited instructors at this talk, so we knew everyone was interested, and we were excited that everyone was interested. We had 13 instructors out of our sample were chosen to be interviewed. We had maybe 65 instructors total. We asked instructors to rate their familiarity with IBL methods, so on the scale of beginner, novice, advanced, or expert. And we had a range of both beginner novices and advanced experts. We also asked about the types of courses these instructors are teaching. Lower division math courses were those such as calculus, linear algebra, introduction to proof. The upper division courses were real analysis or abstract algebra, that sort of the things that have 3s or 4s in front of them in the course catalog. We also noticed that courses for students who want to be future teachers were different, so we pulled those out of the sample and looked at those differently. The schools were across the country. Those interviews were conducted over the phone, so we really had all the different range of states represented. The interview was broken into 2 parts. One was the instructor's views and understanding of the IBL method. The second part was getting more precise answers about how those methods are implemented and the answers they gave on the online labs they were completing. The data set we were looking with was the transcripts for these interviews. As a form of analysis, we searched the transcripts for the relevant passages, the passages that talked about presentations, talked about going to the board, talked about comments, questions, criticisms. These were kind of the words we were looking for. These passages were summarized, and then we looked for common themes. From these themes came kind of an understanding of what the discussion was about at a larger theme. We have open definitions for the themes, and they're still evolving. It's a robust process that's, I guess evolving is the word to use. It will continue. We have a 2nd round of interviews coming up, and so they will continue to evolve and may change completely, but we don't think they will. Instructors spoke about fostering student enthusiasm for presentations and establishing early in the semester that this is the expectation to present and to take part in the discussion. Instructors commented about the grading system that they used, and some talked about this idea of positive grading, where students can't lose points for giving a presentation. It was like the discussion that Ed Parker gave 2 days ago about giving a presentation is necessary, but it's also it's a positive thing. You can't really lose points. We also had an instructor who talked about the points that you earn in a presentation get knocked off what your final exam is worth. So if you earn 40 points through presentations, your final exam is only out of 60. So earn it now and save it for later, I guess is a way to say that. Instructors talked about the difference about grading presentations and how some grade for the correctness and reliability of the mathematics, and others grade for the effort that goes into presenting clearly, writing clearly, cleanly working through the problem and interacting with the audience or with the other students in the class. They had questions about selecting volunteers. It seemed that over the course of the semester, people became more comfortable giving presentations, and so there were more volunteers when the question of does anyone want to present went out, more and more hands were going up. So the instructors had to decide, how do you pick this person over that person? And the strategy of choosing the person who has presented least frequently or least often, the longest time since their last presentation, or someone who presented only twice, not 17 times, kind of giving balance so that everyone has the same voice in the class was mentioned. As for critiquing, this was a harder statement. It was clear in the expectations that students participate in discussions, and this does mean critiquing it. But it also requires instructors to create this safe space, this environment that's comfortable for people to take risks and to analyze problems that may not be right without criticizing the presenter for being wrong, I guess. Some instructors use question prompts, so they would have little note cards that have the first 7 words of the question and then ... I like what you did in this situation, but how about, and then fill in the specific. They also spoke about the strategies they use in positioning themselves, in sometimes standing in the back of the room and physically removing themselves from the focus of attention, so that the students it becomes a student-centered discussion. As for the research questions, the first question, how do instructors engage or encourage student presentations and peer critiques? Instructors talked about the range of problems, about problems in their problem sets ranging from very easy to very challenging, and having students who are shy and hesitant work on the easier problems, and having the students who are more confident and a little stronger work on the challenging problems, and kind of being flexible in what is expected. Students are engaging in the mathematical process, and this discussion focuses on that practice. So that was common across all the different courses. This idea of establishing a supportive environment where you can get up in front of the class and present something that you're not sure about, a battle that you fought and maybe you've won, but you're not quite sure, was mentioned, as were the clear expectations of this is a presentation-driven course, and everyone is expected to do so. Instructors also spoke about being flexible with their pacing, recognizing that you can't get through, or you can't be ensured that you'll get through the same amount of material as you would as if you were just lecturing. If you're lecturing, you get it to the beginning of class, you know I'm going to get through these 4 theorems. You just do it and then it's done. Whereas if students are presenting, it might take someone 35 minutes to do what you thought was a 10-minute proof. You just kind of need to be flexible. As for the distribution of responses, are there differences with respect to types of courses? We saw there are differences in the activities instructors have to make or have to enact. With the future teachers, there were early in the semester, teachers were hesitant about teaching and kind of shy. This was true across the board, except for one exception. We had an instructor who was working with master's level students who, on their typical day, these students are in the classroom, they're working teachers, and they were excited to get to a classroom where they get to interact with their peers rather than interacting with 13-year-olds. So they got to the point that they were negotiating which person got to do which problem, and I'll do this one, but you get to do the next one. That sort of bargaining power. As for the lower division math courses, early in the semester, those started out with this fear of embarrassing each other or being embarrassed by yourself by putting up a wrong answer and wanting to know that your answer was correct before you put it up. So instructors had to position themselves to say, you just got to put it up and see what the class says. Whereas in upper division courses, you had this question of how do you select the appropriate volunteer for the particular problem. What's interesting is the lower division courses are usually younger students who are less familiar with the process, whereas the upper division students are familiar with the process and maybe a little more comfortable in what they're doing. The range of comments that we had through these transcripts, they describe the activities that are implemented in these courses. And these comments align nicely with the previous research that's been done on the dilemmas that instructors face. The decision to adjust teaching from away from the lecture-based courses and towards student-centered classrooms means that IBL instructors have to take on dilemmas that lecturers might not have to worry about. Marengel and Rasmussen wrote about the all-discovering, all-telling continuum that students face between all discovery may be students really do all the work on their own, all telling is much more lecture-based, and finding a middle ground between those two, because there's content knowledge that you want students to cover, but you can't simply tell them that. That would be defeating the purpose. Spear and Wagner wrote about facilitating these classroom discussions, which is this form that this critiquing takes place in. It's usually someone will raise a question about a presentation, and that will start the discussion, much more so than the instructor saying, let's worry about this particular fact. And then with our good friend Rosa, they wrote about assessing student learning. Now this last topic it's great research, and it aligns closely to a question that was asked in the interview, how do you measure student learning? How do you keep track of what students know? Which is a wonderful question and wonderful responses, although not taken up in this particular presentation. As for the study, what's the takeaway? Well, it provides guidance for the new instructors. The idea that there's no difference between the experience of new instructors and instructors that are more familiar is reassuring in a lot of ways. You have the problems the new instructors are facing are the same ones that more experienced instructors face, which means that you can turn to a more experienced instructor for answers or for advice, which is wonderful. Other questions that need to be thought about and resolved kind of as these methods are implemented in the classroom are, how will presentations be critiqued, and what role is group work going to play? Because as we heard yesterday, group work takes on a different form, and it's not necessarily 3 or 4 students sitting in desks circled around each other working together, but the group work of presenting to the group and having the group ask questions and kind of resolving the understanding is kind of a different form of group work. I'd like to give thanks to Mr. Lucas and the Education Advancement Foundation for supporting both this work and this conference. I'd like to thank the University of Michigan, specifically the Graduate School, for supporting me. I'd also like to thank them for their health insurance plan. It's been wonderful. I'd also like to thank all the IBL instructors who have participated in the study and those 13 who are in the interview pool. I think we have 1 minute for questions. Thank you. Thank you.
I was wondering if you had a list of the question prompts you used, or if they're published somewhere?
I don't have one to present, but I can certainly pass them along to you if you would like. I have them in my backpack if you want them there. Anything else? No is a good answer. All right.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much.